What's up, guys? I'm AJ. You're watching the Indiana Lacrosse Channel. Welcome to our very first ever coaches interview. And I'm here with a great friend of mine, a mentor, and overall just amazing lacrosse player and coach. Coach Sean Cross, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing. I love this place. Everything about it's amazing.
Thanks. So tell me a little bit. So you're from Long Island.
From Long Island.
Are you a?
But I have to say I'm from Mineola, Long Island. So that's a different part. When people start thinking about Long Island lacrosse, they don't think of Mineola lacrosse as the hotbed.
Okay.
Mineola was in between Garden City and Manhasset, two of the best lacrosse programs out there, and we were stuck in the middle of that with a small team and some fun guys to play with. You know, lacrosse was like basketball, how it is here. You know, we just grew up. We sticks in our hands when we were 4 or 5 years old. I remember my older brother, was a great lacrosse player. I wish he could have gone further in his career, but. Knee injury, things like that, but he would always have me outside and he would be just, throwing. I miss it, he'd make me chase it, he's one of those guys that just, grinder kind of lacrosse player, and I looked up to him, older brother, of course, I looked up to him a lot. And then, eventually you start getting into leagues and things like that, and like I said, everyone, when I was growing up, we were playing it, everyone. Yeah. Player.
So high school ball, did you guys, what was that like? Because there's a handful of really good lacrosse teams in the high school area, or I guess, but what?
Yeah, we were very competitive. Like I said, when I was there, I wasn't, one of the best kids, whatever that, I was a good athlete, multi-sport athlete, but we had players there like Kevin Lowe, Darren Lowe, these are guys that went to Princeton, things like that, and had won national championships, set records and things like that. Another guy that I played with, he was our goalie. He wound up being Syracuse's goalie on the national championship team.
Wow.
So I played under a lot of really good players, and I got to see what good lacrosse was. I still remember, I bring it up with the kids that I coach today, it's like, I know the sound of defeat. Because when we're in there, it was a sudden death. I remember the shot that was taken by this one guy. It must have been about 15 yards out. It felt like that, whatever, but he just blasted it, and you just heard the top net just go poof.
Ooh.
And just your whole season is done. So
Yeah.
I always tell the kids, that's the sound of defeat. You don't ever want to put yourself in that position. So I remember the guys talking about it after and said, we don't ever want to feel like that again. So the next year we won the national championship.
Oh, wow.
So we won the national championship, you get some eyes on you. Guys want to play, or guys want you to come play for them. So a guy from Butler, John Hind, came out and recruited a bunch of guys from Herkimer. I was not on that list. He came out and watched the semifinal and final, and on the spot just said, hey, we'd like you to come out to Butler. I didn't see the place.
Wow.
Back then Butler wasn't the basketball hotbed that it is today.
Yeah.
They were kind of, on that verge, there was always, in and out of the bubble and there, things like that for the playoffs. But I came out, sight unseen, I came out. He said, if you work hard, we'll see what we can do for you financially, things like that. So basically my junior year was just going out and playing lacrosse and working hard and trying to earn my keep to make a team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you were there for your junior and senior year then?
So it was our junior. So he just started the program, and like I said, he needed warm bodies to fill a Division I program. Recruited as best as he could. Got a bunch of guys, a lot of guys from Ohio. I know Butler at the time wanted the lacrosse program to bring a lot of East Coast people to the school. They were growing as well. But what Coach Hind did for us was he put a top-rate schedule on us. We were traveling. When I played up in Herkimer, we played all the schools that were up in New York. We sometimes we kind of went down to Maryland, things like that. Championship-wise, to get to that experience. But the experience he gave us on bus trips, going to North Carolina, playing Notre Dame, just all on the East Coast. I mean, it was just an experience I didn't think I was going to get, and once I got it, once it was a part of me, it has stayed with me forever.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So tell me a little bit more about the memories that you had over at Butler. Obviously, those trips meant a lot to you, and I think a lot of guys, when you play college, I think that's one thing that you remember. I mean, I have a lot of memories of long trips out to Pennsylvania and to Michigan, and that's not going to North Carolina. I will say that, but
well, I think with lacrosse, it brings out a lot of characters. There are a lot of characters. You've probably seen it as you've gone through. You see it in the team that we coach. It brings out a lot of personality, a lot of strong personalities. And when you get those kind of guys together, you get them on a bus trip, a lot of stuff happens, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of team bonding, and those memories that last forever. I mean, I was just posting on Facebook the other day. Bus stopped right in front of Butler, where the Butler office was, and just like a flood of memories came back of this is where the bus used to drop us off. We'd play card games, we'd laugh, we'd sing. There weren't no movies on the buses like they have now. You couldn't, like right now, nowadays, guys get on the bus and they can watch the games that they just played, or you can watch film of other teams, or they can just kick back and watch, movie after movie. We had each other. It was just, bonds and friendships that last until this day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, and I think that's one thing about the lacrosse community as well, is because, I mean, we drove in 18-passenger vans, right? I mean, they're so crappy, and all the memories that I have. I mean, I remember, you kind of talk about watching movies. I mean, there was one guy who had Frozen, the only movie he had on his laptop, and he put it in the dashboard of this 18-passenger van. I just remember all of us just belting out to every song. I mean, when you get 18 guys just going at it, coming back from an awful loss in Pennsylvania, and you're just like, what, screw it. But
but that's like what we're talking about. Like lacrosse brings out a lot of that, a lot of your, who you are and how much fun you like to have, and it's just one of those kind of sports that I don't know if people take for granted, but it's a blast. Kids like being with each other in the sport.
So what happened? So after you left, what happened then? So obviously you stayed. You and a handful of other guys stayed at Indiana to pursue,
I got into teaching, and my focus at that point was getting a job, be secure with my job, starting a family. But get pony back in. I kept getting the calls. One of the guys I played for at Butler, who's the president of Indiana Lacrosse right now, poor Boschelt, he called me a couple of times saying, there's parents and kids that want to play at Roncalli. So eventually, as I got myself established in my job and with my family life, I said, let's take a stab at this. So we went over. We went Roncalli kids, Center Grove kids, started doing clinics. So we started the same year as Center Grove. Okay. And it was pretty neat. It was 10, 11 years ago, and there was 15 kids. 15 kids, 2 parents, and they were all in. The only lacrosse they had seen. I went to Butler, sight unseen. They went into lacrosse pretty much just looking at it on TV. Back then it was only on championship.
Right, on Memorial Day.
Yeah, on the ESPN, so that's where they'd see it.
Okay.
And then, so they were interested in it, and so wound up me and a guy named Andy Simcoe. We started the program, and it's been rolling ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's one of those things where, for me, when I came out, the advice that I was getting is look, if you're going to go coach, look for a good program, look for an established program, something that's not, solely, especially as a young kid, that's solely parent-run, that's solely, and so Roncalli for me was a no-brainer. I mean, it's South Side. I have allegiance to the South Side for the most part. I grew up here. As an outsider who walked in, you grew up with lacrosse your whole life, but you fell in love with Butler. Yeah. And so you can kind of attest, but I had no idea what lacrosse was until I was 18, 17, 18-ish, and walking on and falling in love with the sport, falling in love with the culture. There's definitely something to be said about the guys who have never knew about it, and then came into it and started loving it.
And I think that's why you are such a good fit for this program. You fell in love with the game later than usual, than most kids do. That's pretty much what we have. We don't have, we had a junior program, but it kind of, went by the wayside for a year or two. So we're building that up again. It's doing awesome now. But basically for the majority of the time that we've had here, we've gotten kids from when they're freshmen, either freshman, sophomore, junior year, and we're helping them fall in love with the program. So I think that's why you are so good with them, because you can relate to their circumstance and how you want to keep them in the game, love the game, and build them up.
Right, because it can be very frustrating.
It is.
Especially, walk on as a freshman, sophomore, and especially if you play other sports, right? We
Yep,
have athletes
absolutely.
who are multi-sport athletes. We have football players, baseball players, and soccer players, and they try, and they can't catch and they get frustrated. Well, I mean,
it's the most, I always tell them, it's the most humbling thing. We will teach you, and first of all, we want to get the stick in the hand, because once they get in the hand, they'll love it, We always say that, every coach will say that. But it's humbling because we teach them this one, and then we say, nope, knock it over. You got to do this lefty too as well. And then it's like, whoa, how do I do this?
Right.
Am I falling in love with this? And you just got to keep working with them on it.
And lacrosse is one of those sports where, you can kick the ball with your left foot.
Yes.
You can dribble a basketball with your left hand. But lacrosse is actually one of those sports where you really do have to be strong with your non-dominant hand.
Right.
Because you could be in situations where you could get hurt if you don't switch. If you don't. And so that is something that gets very frustrating, and one of those things where you really do have to build up that other side of your body and that other muscle memory. So, ending on legacy, what do you want your legacy to be? I know that's kind of a prideful question to answer, but if you could leave the Indiana lacrosse community anything.
Yeah, just the legacy I want to leave is that, as a coach, I was a coach that was inspired by others, and I talk about inspiration versus motivation. And if a lot of times people need to be motivated for diets, motivated to get up, throwing the water on, knock, 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 wake up, knock, 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 wake up. But if somebody comes in with a cold glass of water, that's your motivation. I don't want that. I want that kids to be inspired. I said to the kids the other day that if you're inspired, you don't quit. Inspired people just don't quit. They keep looking for inspiration. They want more. And I do that myself as a coach, and through John Gordon, who was a lacrosse player at Cornell University, played with my cousins there as well. I met him actually, and I didn't even realize it. I found out later on I did. And Inky Johnson, those two guys that I really find inspiration daily from. So I want to bring that to my team, and if you find that inspiration, you're all going to push harder. You're going to want more. You're going to want to be better of yourself, and if I inspire them, I can inspire them to be a really good lacrosse player. But I think my legacy is I'd rather see them just leave as better men. I mean, that's that in a nutshell.
That's really awesome. So thank you, Sean. I appreciate you being on the show.
This is terrific. This has been fun.
Guys, if you want to see more coaches interviews or interviews with anybody else, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification button. And I'll see you guys next time.